Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Unscripted and Unchained RPG Review. I am Game Master Bloodworth, and as you can see by the graphics, this is going to be my wrap up and review of Rising Phoenix GameCon 2024. I arrived there early on Thursday, checked into my room around 3 o'clock, and had about 4 hours to pass before my first game, and really excited about it. Had some time to walk around and see as they were still setting things up on Thursday afternoon and evening, and it was a decent ride getting there. I did one quick video as I was arriving, and I did one live stream that Thursday night. Just to talk about thus far that experience. But I planned on, I had such a busy schedule that, I had planned on doing some more live streams throughout, but they just didn't come to possibility. So here we are on Monday morning, and I am going to start going over everything. Now, I have a bit of a cough and everything. I don't think it's full-blown convention, the convention crud. I went there gasping for air with asthma, and last night I was pretty much just run down from the drive home and everything. So don't think I think I'm pretty decent compared to what I was. Certainly by Saturday, I was struggling to continue talking. I had done by Saturday afternoon, I had already completed running 5 game sessions. So 20 hours of talking and whatnot. I then sat through and did one game, and played as a player in one game, which I'll talk about a little bit as well. And by then I was shot. I was done by Saturday afternoon. I was pretty much finished up. So without further ado, let's start talking about the gaming experience. So unfortunately, I did not get a picture of the final group of players that I ran for. I got their names, but that session had wrapped up so quickly because I think we were really pressed for time. We had only wrapped it up with like 2 minutes to spare before the end time, and some of the players had to go over to another event that I guess they had scheduled, and I was in such a hurry to step away and get everything packed up and everything that I quite frankly I left that dice tray that you see on the table there, and when I went back later on that evening around 10:30, it was gone. It wasn't turned in or whatever. So unfortunately, it is what it is. It was only $10, so I'm not that upset about it. But here are my so here are the game groups that I had, and I'm gonna shift over this here so I can actually read them. So the first group of individuals was for my Conan 2D20 game session. This was Thursday night, and I was joined by Robert Trimarco, sorry, Michael LeBlanc. I don't believe Christopher Smith was able to make it there. So Blake Crowell and Monty Volovsky, sorry. And Leo was a join in. So there was when one of the players couldn't make it, I was slotted for 5 players, and he had come by early on. This is Leo off to the far right, and unfortunately, the one guy couldn't make it. And so Leo came by the table and asked, hey, if you have an extra seat. At the time, I didn't know the other guy wasn't going to make it yet. But I told him, I was like, yeah, if this is available, you're certainly welcome to join. And then when one of the other players, I believe Blake, arrived, Blake said, hey, the other guy's not going to make it. So I was like, okay, great. and then he went off to try to find Leo, and Leo was able to join. Conan 2D20. It was an adventure that I wrote myself, and it went so well. I mean, the guys had a great time. One of the players, the player sitting in the center, actually, Leo's character almost died before the the last conflict. He was short one momentum of being able to save himself before he fell into a gaping chasm, no chance of survival. And I didn't want him to have his character die just before the final battle. And so I was like, you know what? But gonna say that the two was enough, and you got in there. I mean, sometimes you have to make exceptions in convention play, and then so they were in the final battle, and then the gentleman in the center, his character died in the very very last moment, and the whole ceiling of the cave collapsed in. They had managed to kill the main big bad boss, and then the whole thing collapsed down on top of them. His character was the only one that failed his agility check, and so he wasn't able to get out in time. And the whole the whole objective of the adventure was to get these shards of Ymir, and of course they were all buried underneath, a million tons of mountain. And we had a discussion afterwards, and they were, some of them who are very familiar with Robert E. Howard's stories, in particular Conan stories, they were like, yeah, that's how most of them end anyway. You almost end up leaving virtually empty-handed. And so they really appreciated it. The story of the adventure went really smoothly. The game mechanics, I think they had a real appreciation for the game mechanics as they worked through, and they utilized those. They utilized the momentum really well. It was a great group. The second group, the second game I ran was Gangbusters BX, and this is again another adventure that I wrote called Whiskey Creek Runs Red. And as you can see, we had David Abbott, Michael LeBlanc. So Michael up front, and he came back for a second game. So Michael LeBlanc was there, Christopher Capone, and his son Nicholas Capone. So Nicholas ended up being the youngest of all of my players from the entire weekend, and they were basically playing. They were playing Prohibition era NYPD. Officers and detectives trying to break down a ring of moonshiners, basically, with a slightly more sinister background to them than just moonshining. And so they went through their investigation. They followed their procedures very well, and so they had a great advantage near the end to, when it came time for judgment, they actually secured a prosecution, which, didn't always happen. I've run this game in conventions about 5 times, and all 5 times there was almost a different process that they went through, a different experience that they had, and in some cases a different outcome than they had. They had one plainclothes officer that was accompanying them, who was killed in the line of duty, and that was significant for them as well. And so it was a great running of that adventure. I'm going to actually shift the photos now, so that I can get the other photographs in view. I'm basically just doing a little shifting here. bear with me. And unfortunately, I do not have the. Unfortunately, I don't have the fifth picture. That wrap up of that my fifth game was so quick that unfortunately just didn't work out. So my third game that I ran was Shadow Dark, the Slumbering City. So Tom Wilson, uh, this adventure got such praise from them, and one of the players actually said, "This is one of the best dungeon crawls I've ever experienced at a con," and it really was. And it was my first time running this, and it was such an easy adventure to run, and really it really did capture that dungeon crawl aspect of it. So I was joined by Robert DeMarco again, Tremarco again. So there he is in the we're in the top picture here, and there he is, second to far right. Uh, Jeremy Langhill, Masterson, Liz Masterson. So there's Liz, obviously. Jared Keller and Simon T. DeVoe. I hope I pronounced your names right. Um, and again, they absolutely loved it. One of their player characters died as well, and near the very end, and so they were pretty happy with it. The magic user, who was played by this gentleman here on the far left, he actually almost died 3 times during the adventure. So it was like, yeah, always the magic user, toughest thing to keep alive. But they really enjoyed it. And again, they weren't able to secure the biggest of the prizes, but they walked out of there with a lot of loot. And one of the biggest, again, it's a Robert E. Howard-esque story. And so not escaping with the biggest of prizes is something that is very commonplace to his stories. And they were absolutely not upset about it at all. They were happy actually to get out of the city alive, and they, were the only group to have ever successfully gone into the slumbering city and actually came out alive with some treasure. So they did have some vast amounts of treasure that they actually got out of there. They just didn't get the ancient artifact treasure that they were really seeking to get. So great group of people, great time that we had. So this would have been my 8 o'clock Saturday morning game. Then my, 8 o'clock Friday. Wait, check that. Gangbusters was 8 o'clock Friday morning. Shadow Dark was my 1 o'clock Saturday afternoon game. I then, later on Friday night, I attended a Aliens RPG as a player, although the game master for that was out. He couldn't make it, and someone filled in to run the game system, and he ran an alien adventure with Savage Worlds, and it was his own adventure that he had written as well, and is getting ready to publish it. So it was a great play test for him, and it was an awesome adventure as well. So let me get my timeline right. So Weird Frontiers. This would be Saturday morning at 8 a.m. So Weird Frontiers, I was joined by Matthew Waterman, Brian Label, Liz Masterson again, Jeffrey Wolfson, and Ed Murphy. So had all these people join in. And Weird Frontiers, this is an adventure I wrote. Robert E. Howard, based on the Horror of the Mound. Ultimately, they're going to fight a vampire at the end. One player character died. The priest NPC was killed as well. And so I forget I know whose character died. This gentleman on the left, right next to Liz, is his character was the one that was killed by the vampire, and then the rest of them just finished off the vampire and its one thrall that was remaining. And again, a great time. And then finally, and once again, unfortunately, I did not get a picture with the group for Blade Runner RPG, but I was joined by Joseph Santos, Kyle Simonetti, Jeffrey Novakowski. That's why his character's name was Novak. Marissa Villeneuve Bruns, and Quentin Huspeth. Great players, great group. This game was so heavily investigation, and they really started to put things together. I think the two times that I have run this game, I've always had players start to piece together the clues much more rapidly than I think even the writing of the adventure, expects, or sets up. So I think the game just attracts people who are, really intelligent and really zoned in on the atmosphere and the expectation that this is largely going to be investigative, and to the same extent with Gangbusters as well. So the genre of investigative RPG is something, and I'm sure you get the same thing from Call of Cthulhu as well. I think they do attract a different type of player for to a certain extent. That doesn't mean that they can't interchange and go into something that's a straight up dungeon crawl or vice versa. Dungeon crawlers can go into this kind of thing, but I think it does support a totally different style of play when you're playing certain genres of games, and I think that really became reflective in how this turned out. So overall, it was a great experience. I loved it. Definitely going back next year, and but I am going to make some changes because right after right after the Blade Runner game was concerned, it was like dinner time, right? So I had roughly an hour to go and eat something and then go to the room and get ready for my next game that I was going to play in. And by the time I ate in my room, just to save myself a little time, I plopped down on the bed, and the second day was already catching up on me, and I dozed off. And next thing I know, it's 7:45. I'm an hour and I'm more than or just about an hour late for my next game session, and I was like, I can't physically be like I can't mentally be late for things, and so I just shot out an apology. I was like, hey, you know what, I'm kind of under the weather, and which I was really feeling it at that point, and I literally went back to sleep again, and didn't wake up until like 9:45, which is when I realized I was like, oh crap, I never got the dice tray, and so around 10 o'clock or so, I went back to the gaming hall, and it was just no place to be found. So overall, it was a great experience, and I had already canceled my Sunday morning game, which was Shadow Dark. Not that I was running it, I was going to play in it. And I had done that already like Saturday morning, so more than enough time for someone else to fill in for my absence Sunday morning. But this is definitely going to change the way that this is definitely going to change the way that I do conventions. So So some of the things that I'm going to switch up is how many games that I'm running and what time frame I'm running them. But before I get to that, um, the two most successful games, all right, that I had over the weekend, and of all five games ran really, really well. But the two standouts, all right, and I'm going to do some shameless self promotion here as well. The Slumbering City by Tom Wilson. You can catch my review of that on the channel. That was overwhelmingly, well received. And again, one of the players was like, "This was the best dungeon crawl I've run in a long, long time, or possibly even," he said, "ever at a gaming convention." So, kudos to Tom Wilson. I'm sure he'll be happy to hear this. And then my own adventure, Shards of Ymir, it went really well with the players. The players really appreciated it, and in this second or third running, I think it's just the second time that I've run this. It really did come out the way that I hoped. There was action all the way through, using a wide number of abilities, skills, and some strategy involved as well. Some really good opportunities to make decisions during this adventure. Now, since I can't ever publish this adventure, I am going to do a separate video where I break this thing down, and I will make this adventure available to send to people, on my channel. If you're I'm going to send one out to my members. So this will be a membership perk, right? So if you're a member of my channel, I am going to send you a PDF copy of Shards of Ymir that you might choose to play it as well. I'm also going to preview this in a video sometime later on this week so that you can check it out. So so like I said, a shameless self-promotion. That one of my favorite games to run, sessions to run during the weekend, was my own creation. Now, changes that or learning that I made from this, and I actually didn't bring up nice pamphlet here. This was basically the layout, the floor layout of the entire event. You can see by this photograph, which I didn't actually take this photograph. I pulled it off of their Facebook page. I thought it really captured the, how many people were actually in there. It was the best one that I saw, where you could see at least a portion of both sides of the gaming tables and such. There had to be, I want to say, about 30 tables, maybe even more, maybe 40 tables total. Between both sides, or somewhere, it's certainly over 30, possibly less than 40. And then I saw a lot of gaming going on in the restaurant area, of the hotel as well. So there were other places, and then they had a whole room set up for organized play. So constant action. There had to be, and I'll wait for their final things, but there had to be 300 people at this convention. So it was really, really well organized, as always, and a great success. Certainly something that I will certainly look to go to next year again. That'll be my third time going. Changes. I ran 5 different game systems at this convention. Over the span of 2.5 days, and that's just too much. So in the future, I am going to just run 3 game systems and then play in the rest. The other thing that I won't be doing is I'm not going to do a morning game and then a 1 o'clock game. You know, an 8 o'clock and a 1 o'clock. There's just not enough time in between to really kind of pace things out. So if I do run 2 games in one day, it would be the 1 o'clock. I mean, the 8 o'clock in the morning, and then the 7 p.m. You know, give myself that entire mid portion where it's like I can go to another game and playing another game, then take a nice, you know, long nap, and then go into that or whatever, or just run 3 evening games across 3 separate days, which is more likely what I'm going to end up doing. I am not going to schedule Sunday morning games any longer because I'm 3 hours away from home, and you know, so it just makes it much easier to roll out of bed, have breakfast, hop in the car, and be home by 11 o'clock in the morning, which is nice for my family and everything, because Sundays is always you know, a lot of things to do around the house, and so you know, my family, my wife and my 2 daughters just like having me home to help do those things. So so that was pretty much it. I mean, you know, Scott, great con, really enjoyed it. I will certainly be there again, and looking forward to seeing you at you know, at ShireCon. So smaller con but growing. You know, probably about 200 now, or at least that's where he's shooting for. So if that's like 200, that's going to be a really nice increase from like last year's 150, and hopefully that comes about. And that's Tom Wilson, by the way. So Tom is looking to get his con to step up and get, you know, get closer to where this con was probably 3 years ago, or 2 years ago. So yeah, these small to mid-sized cons are something that I think you really should look to get yourself out to. You know, they're small enough that you can really start to, you know, network with people. I had many players that I've seen before, and, you know, ran into them, you know, and hey, how's it going and everything. I know some of the vendors now, they know me, and we see each other, you know, at several different cons, and then I had some players that were return players as well. So really looking forward to the next one, and you know, just a great time. So thanks to all of my players, to the game master that I sat in on his game. He ran it. He was a replacement, but he did a great job, and he had a great adventure as well. And apologies to the 2 game masters that I, you know, couldn't make your game. You know, in the future, I will not make that that mistake of setting up things that, you know, don't quite compensate for how the overall convention is going forward, for me physically and mentally and such. And that's pretty much it. So thanks for stopping in. I hope you enjoyed this video, and you know, be on the lookout for some more follow-up. Like I said, I'm going to do a video covering my game adventure for Conan 2D20, and I'm expecting, I see a lot of people are starting to get their box set of Mothership. I'm wondering, I didn't get the email yet that mine has been shipped yet, so but I expect to get Mothership sometime soon, and I'll do a box opening and talk a little bit about that game, and then I'll probably play some Fallout 4 again this afternoon, and you'll see that video go up sometime, probably tomorrow or the next day. So you will have a great one, and take care. Thanks for stopping in.